He said if she needed a safe ride to somewhere, he'd be glad to help her out. He had an accent like Roy, her second stepdad, pure Texas panhandle. When he gently repeated his offer, Rett glanced nervously over at the big-haired woman stocking the potato chips shelves. She wore a Petro name tag. The woman smiled and said, "He's okay, girlie. You'll be fine." She reminded Rett of Dolly Parton, so she believed her.
"I reckon I could find you rides with decent people most the ways to where you're going,"
Dwayne said after he cajoled a little of her story out of her.
"Young ladies like yourself shouldn't be out on the road alone. Jesus says to love your fellow man, but I'm here to tell you, there's some bedbug crazy folks traveling the highways and byways of our fine country."
"Yes, sir," she'd murmured, staring out the window at the toy-sized cars darting around them. She loved the high vantage point of the semi's orange-scented cab. It made her feel like she was in charge of the whole world. On the truck's satellite radio, a gospel group was singing an a cappella version of Nothing But the Blood of Jesus. The alto was slightly flat. Normally, a statement like his about the dangers of young girls traveling alone would cause her to roll her eyes, but she wasn't stupid. Attitude was fine, but survival was better. 10 years of navigating the fringes of the gospel and bluegrass music business taught her that. It had been her good luck to run into Brother Dwayne. He'd called it God's providence. Whatever, she thought. He was kind of preachy, but that was easy enough to tune out. She'd been doing that most of her life. Listening to him definitely beat taking a chance on another van full of college guys, which had been her transportation from Knoxville to Memphis. At the Winn-Dixie 2 miles from her house, while standing in the 10 items or less line, Rett met a Vanderbilt student named Derek. She was buying a bottle of water and some Hershey bars for the road. She'd vaguely thought about taking the bus to California, but she didn't want to waste what little money she had saved. Luckily, the Vanderbilt guy and his buddies were heading in her general direction and offered her a ride. They were okay, didn't hassle her at all, and she did pitch in $10 for gas. Things were fine until the driver pulled out a Jack Daniels bottle. She ditched them when they'd stopped for snacks at a Walmart outside of Memphis. She wasn't about to become a grease spot in the middle of Interstate 40 because of some drunk frat boy. She had stood at the side of the road with her thumb out, trying not to think about all the Dateline NBC shows she'd seen about serial killers and missing girls. A little later, a girl not much older than Rett picked her up. Her name was Eunice Shoemaker, and she drove an older white SUV with a faded pink Mary Kay Cosmetics sign plastered on the driver's door. She offered Rett a ride clear to Little Rock, where Eunice's mother was having kidney stone surgery. Eunice dropped her off at the Petro truck stop and handed her some samples of Mary Kay sunscreen. "Do not leave the house without wearing this," she'd warned. "You might have brown hair, but girl, you got the skin of a redhead." Brother Dwayne had approached Rett not 10 minutes later, a concerned look on his grizzled face. "More coffee?" The waitress stood in front of Rett, holding a stained bun coffee pot. She had tired brown eyes and a cool-looking heart-shaped mole on her left cheek, or maybe it was a tattoo. "No thanks," Rett answered, looking down at her plate where a shriveled pickle was the only thing she'd left uneaten. "Brother Dwayne says this is on his tab," the waitress said in a gravelly Tanya Tucker voice that Rett immediately envied. "He does that all the time. Cook just baked some peach pie. Want some?" Rett almost refused, hating to take more of the minister's help, but she thought about the crumpled money tucked down into her dusty red boot. $68.43, and she still had half the country to travel. She'd started out with $100, but hadn't paid real close attention to how much she was spending, a trait her mom often pointed out. At the Walmart where she'd ditched the frat boys, she'd bought wool socks, gloves, and a red knit hat. It hadn't occurred to her to stick those things in her backpack.